It all started at the border, and that's still where it is today. Someone killed Ramón Casiano, and the killer got away. Those are lyrics from the song Ramón Casiano by Drive-By Truckers. If you've never heard the name Ramón Casiano, you may have heard the name of the man who murdered him. There's no photo of Casiano to show you here either, because near as I can tell, no such photo exists, and there's precious little I could find to tell his story either. Harlan Bronson Carter, though, you can find plenty about him. That's because the 17-year-old kid who shot 15-year-old Casiano went on to head the U.S. Border Patrol and eventually the National Rifle Association. He has a Wikipedia page. Ramón Casiano does not. I'd likely have never heard of Casiano either were it not for that song by the Athens, Georgia band Drive-By Truckers, bearing his name. In that song, singer and guitarist Mike Cooley offers a brutal summary of what happened back on March 3rd, 1931. The two teens crossed paths in the border town of Laredo, Texas, where Harlan Carter confronted the younger Mexican boy and his friends, believing they might know something about the disappearance of the Carter family car 3 weeks before. Cradling a shotgun, Carter insisted that Ramon and his friends come home with him to be questioned. A witness at the time said Casiano spoke up as the oldest of these young boys and said, "Hell no, we won't go back to your house and you can't make us." Casiano's 12-year-old friend Salvador provided witness for the prosecution too. He said Casiano took out his knife and asked, "Do you want to fight me?" The two boys exchanged curses. Carter leveled a shotgun at Ramon Casiano, who moved the weapon away with his hand. He took a step back, and then he laughed. Carter shot a 2-inch hole in the boy's chest. No evidence was ever found that Casiano or the other boys were involved in the theft of that car. Although Carter was initially found guilty of murder, that conviction was overturned by the Texas Court of Appeals on a technicality. Now, Carter was born Harlan B. Carter. That's Harlan with 2 A's, but would go on to change the spelling of his first name, a fact that he denied vociferously and refused to explain. 2 years after the murder trial, however, he enrolled at the University of Texas, Austin as Harlan Carter. That's with an O at the end. Ramon Casiano's story had ended, but Carter's had just begun. A few years and a couple of college degrees later, Carter joined the U.S. Border Patrol, where his father had worked too. He went on to attain leadership over the Border Patrol for most of the 1950s and helped lead the infamous, crudely named Operation Wetback, which attempted to remove legal Mexican immigrants, some of whom were even U.S. citizens, sending them back to Mexico. Carter also hoped to implement a plan called Operation Cloudburst, which would deploy the military to find migrants here illegally at the border and further into the interior. At the time, Eisenhower nixed that plan, finding that it conflicted with the Posse Comitatus Act. Decades after killing Casiano, Carter was elected executive vice president of the NRA. He led the NRA's radicalization as the lobbying organization turned from promoting gun safety and marksmanship towards the NRA we know today, which spends its time primarily advocating for less gun control and telling Americans that mass shootings are something that we have to endure because of the Second Amendment. Carter advocated for the right for convicted felons, the mentally ill, and drug addicted to own firearms, saying it was a price we have to pay for freedom. Decades go by and things stay the same. We move on from Ramon Casiano to Trayvon Martin. In the age of social media, at least Martin's name and image survives. Still, there are countless names and faces we'll never know. We're days away from the next presidential election, and J.D. Vance, Donald Trump, and many others have spent weeks vilifying migrants across the United States. They've lied about the supposed dangers, violence, disease, theft of jobs, housing, and benefits that they allege immigrants bring to our communities. We may never know all of the consequences of these lies, the impact upon so many individual lives. The names and faces of those people will be lost to history, just as Ramon Casiano's was before the truckers honored him with their song. Meanwhile, those who enact terror move on, grow in influence, and amass wealth and power, and they're immortalized everywhere.